Greetings, evildoers, and welcome to another comic book review of 202.1. I am your host, Dark Rise, and welcome to the darkness hours of my comic book review. This week is week 2 of Villains Month. There are no good guy comic books to review, unlike last reviews. Thank God for that. So for this episode, I'm using a brand new camera, so that way I don't hear no complaints of things that I take. But I got the comic books right here. And like last time's review, I'm going to give you guys a brief of the Villains Month comic books and then what I thought about it. And they're all 3D covers. And so let's get to it. Starting with Court of Owls #1 from Batman and Robin, issue number 23.2. And by the way, all these comics I'm going to review, some were good and some were okay. There was not one bad, because Villains Month, there's nothing bad about it. So with that, just want to point that out. So Court of Owls and what it's about. It's very dark, this comic book. Like, it talks about the origin of the Court of Owls and the punishment that people go through. As we all know, the Justice League are dead, from where everyone knows about that. And basically it's just like a whole big thing of people just talking. It's like a really long dialogue. And these Court of Owls, I mean, they just kill people like left and right. And artwork is really good. I will point that out. And there's a little father-daughter conversation that's going on about how the Court of Owls do their jobs by punishing people. And as the book continues, we get a little bit about the talent of what happened. And it seems like in the next issue, the first and most terrible weapon the court that has ever used the first Talon is going to be in Talon, with ending question mark. So that was really interesting though. Especially with all the violence and stuff like that. I mean, wow. So I would say that this is an okay comic book if you want to pick this up. I mean, some say that the Court of Owls series was boring, but I think it's pretty interesting. Next up, we have Zod #1 from Superman Action Comics, issue 23.2. And Zod is one of those awesome people where everyone kneels before Zod. And that's what I like about him. And also, we get an origin story of how he was into monsters. And the artwork's beautifully drawn with all these monsters and everything. And it does go like back and forth where he goes on a journey with Jor-El and Zor-El. I don't even know why they appeared in this comic book, because they're one of the good guys, which I don't like to see in a Villains Month comic book, but yeah. But long story short, they do their missions of like killing the animals, and he has met 2 Kryptonians of Non and Flora, I think that's how you say the name. They're also known as the Charm, basically, which is the picture I just showed you a few moments ago. And what I like about this comic book is that, well, here's one thing I didn't really like. What I didn't really like is that Jor-El and Zor-El got all the 3 Kryptonians as prisoners, saying that you've been found guilty of everything. I mean, what did Zod do? He just did what he had to do, like any other person would do. So you're just gonna do that to them and throw them in the fan zone? That's not the right way of doing it. So he had it all wrong. So and until they meet again, now Zod is gonna go after the son of Jor-El, which is Superman. And we all know Zod could get Superman. I mean, he will kneel before Zod. It says so right here on the cover too. So that says it all right there. Interesting origin story. I would recommend you pick that up. And here's this comic book of Lobo #1 from Justice League, issue number 23.2. Like I said before, they're all 3D covers, so I'm not going to say they're all 3D. Many people have been complaining about this comic book, like saying the Lobo you see on the cover is not the one you see in the book. So, what's wrong with him? I mean, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just Lobo. Just because there's a little bit of a difference, that doesn't mean you have to go bagging on him. Give the guy a break. He's just doing his job. Like all this other thing. I mean, I think that this Lobo looks amazing. I mean, they don't call him the main man for nothing, if you get what I mean. So anyway, just to give a briefie, Lobo is doing a mission for one of the jobs that he has to do, and he just uses like all these weaponries and swords, and there's lots of action in this comic book, and violence too, which is there. And they are the people that I thought he was going to say these people, but he did the right thing by saying, just go back in your cage where you belong and just trap them. Just love that. I mean, Lobo. And then we get this part over here about that there might be an imposter of this Lobo from what we see in the cover. So, to be honest, I mean, if the Lobo we saw that's an imposter is evil, then that's fine. But if he's an anti-hero, then I hope the Lobo that we see in this comic book gets and defeats this Lobo right here. Because you're going to be a villain, you're going to have to do evil tasks. Because we don't do good guy tasks. Not in my world we don't, at least. Brainiac #1 from Superman, issue number 23.2. In this comic book, we get little brief story of how Brainiac became to be, and so on and so forth. What in God's name was that noise? If any good guys are stepping in my territory, I swear, I shall smite all of them. But whatever it was, probably something. But anyway, yeah. So there's a experiment that's going on with Brainiac's child, of what he's doing, and not a lot of people like that, where his wife and child left him and all that, and then he has this speech he does. Artwork was good, and if I didn't say about the artwork for Lobo, that was good as well. So there's lots of dialogue of what happened, and there's like a plan that he has for our hero Superman, or our heroes actually, that he wants to kill the planet himself, and there's nobody to stop him, at least not in this issue, because he just talks about that. And then this woman right here had to spoil it all, and now she's gonna tell Superman that the bad guy's here and he's gonna take over the planet, and you know, I gotta stop him. This is Brainiac we're talking about. If you could see the cover, if you want to end in this result, then I wouldn't tell Superman at all. I'd rather him kill the planet, because that's just the gist of his story. Just killing the planet and just wiping out everything in existence, and rise of evil. Sounds good to me, and very awesome. And yes, so that's a comic book. That was a good read. Mongul #1 from Green Lantern, issue number 23.2. And this story actually, I mean, at first it was kind of a little bit like, what am I reading? Because it talked about Admiral Pyrie, who is in a world of the war world, and there was lots of stuff that was happening there, and Pyrie didn't respect Lord Mongul's commands as to basically kneel down before him and basically become his slave. And that was a very wrong move he did right there. There's a little bit of an origin story we get into of how Mongul was, and how he was a true leader, and how he became one of the true leaders as we know of today. And he has, what I like about this comic book, like, he has these people like in a prison, and just the artwork is just amazing. Like fire everywhere and everything burns, and talks about his military, and oh, here it is, the collection of the unforgettably arrogant, which are people who didn't respect his commands. So in light of the guy Admiral's ending, let's just say he got decapitated, and now Mongul is going into Oa to meet up with the Green Lanterns, and he's up for that, and I hope all will be well for him for that part. So I liked it. Nothing wrong with this issue. If any of you Mongul fans want to read that, then I would suggest you pick up the book. It has appearing to villains as well, like yours truly right here. Soloman Grundy #1 from Earth 2, issue number 15.2. Now, while I was reading this book, this was actually a quick read, so to say. Like basically just talked about that there was a meteor, and this character right here, which I would think would be Soloman Grundy, that everything he touches that's life all rots with a touch of his hand. I could use somebody in that force, but I'll give him a call whenever I can. So it talks about Slunder Swamp in 1898, where his parents are working really hard and everything else. I mean, there's lots of blood, and that I just couldn't stop turning the page. Like, there was blood here and blood there and violence. I mean, I don't want to show it to you guys because you guys have to pick it up to see it, but couldn't just resist all that. It's just spectacular, and all the destruction Soloman Grundy is doing to the whole entire city. Oh man, just one of those things, and everybody rots, and he is born again, Soloman Grundy, which is the end of that. But like I said, it's a quick read, but an awesome series to read, and awesome to probably have my team, because, you know, if I'm gonna have to stick with the whole villains thing and me staying here forever, which I'm hoping, I'm gonna need some backup, and he's one of them. Next one is Riddler #1 from Batman, issue number 23.2. Riddler, Riddler, Riddler. Always with riddles and everything else about him. And he does do some riddles in here, which are not annoying. They're actually pretty fun, and a lot of thinking too, but that's what he does. And it just shows how he takes matters into his own hands, and all this happens with some great artwork, and you know, he's just one of those guys where he just blows up everything, and you know, he's just one of the masterminded people. Maybe better than the Joker, but not really too sure about that. Maybe close runner-up to the Joker, I would say. And yeah, so he just goes around, like, just killing, which, you know, because they took his cards away to security. Now, how dare they take his cards away? All he wanted to do was play some solitaire. So, what's wrong with that? You know, sometimes I kind of wonder, like, all these good people have to always ruin the fun. Just want to play a game. Just leave the poor guy alone. And there's more in here too. If you want to read it and check it out for yourselves, you can. But that's a good pickup for this week. As well as this comic book of Mr. Freeze #1 from Batman The Dark Knight, issue number 23.2. This goes into an origin story of how he became Mr. Freeze. The kid went by the name of Victor, where his father left him, and he lived with his mother, and his mother died in the lake, which led into him becoming Mr. Freeze. She died in the ice, because they lived in, where they lived in, it was like over 30 years ago. They lived in Gotham City, and then they went to Nebraska after the father left. And we get a little glimpse of Batman in this comic book, thinking what he's doing in here. But yeah, and then we find out his father, Mr. Freeze's father, started a new family, and this doctor tries to talk to him, and well, let's just say things didn't turn out so well for our doctor friend, because he just didn't do his job, so he deserved to get killed. And Mr. Freeze just goes around freezing everybody, killing people with his glasses that say "Kill Batman" across. There was one part where it said "Say Grace" when he's doing a dinner. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne comes in and sees the destruction that's going on, and he just tries to get Mr. Freeze, but that didn't work. And it all ends up with his father's family in an icy cold dinner. Now, some of you may say that's cold, but I say that's cool, if you get my drift. Awesome. Just awesome. I'm loving these villains books. I mean, every week is just amazing. The next book here is Black Manta #1 from Aquaman, issue number 23.1. This does connect to the villains, not the villains one, the Forever Evil issue #1, but that's like all the way at the end. Talks about, his story right here of how Aquaman killed his father, and we see the awesome Amanda Waller, who is talking to him. I mean, she looks pretty every time I see this woman. But beside the point, the security is breached, and we all know that from Forever Evil what happened there. And King Shark actually comes in. This is phenomenal artwork right here. And he gets the suit to become Black Manta. And then this is where, over here, if you read Forever Evil issue #1, as I reviewed last week, shows about what happened where a crime syndicate came in and Black Manta got possession of Aquaman's trident. And here's what I don't understand though, like, I mean, there was a whole big tidal wave that happened after the crime syndicate put the moon near the sun, and he sees his father, you know, like right here. And then this is what I was a little bit concerned about. This looks like that Black Manta is going against the crime syndicates. For what reason? Like, just because of that? I mean, you should really think before you go after them, you know, because they are villains and all that. But we'll see how this happens when we read the next Forever Evil and see what Black Manta has there. And there is so much noise going on. I don't know what's going on here. The security's breached, so there's no way anyone could get in here. So they can keep trying. Harley Quinn #1 from Batman Detective Comics, issue number 23.2. Good old Harley Quinn. You know, with all her craziness and all the stuff that's been going on, and you know, it talks about her origin story right here. Everything's so red and everything, which is pretty cool. And it talks about her origin story, how she became loony, and how she and the Joker got together, as we see here. And this is romantic. I mean, just look at that. The Joker and Harley Quinn. The best couple we could see Month comic book. And then it shows how she got her costume from different people, along with the hammer, which is very deadly as a lethal weapon. And she just goes around and wreaks havoc and carnage and everything else. And she also meets up with Deadshot at the end of the comic book. And this series is to be continued in Suicide Squad number 24, and it's also a tie-in of Forever Evil. So, yeah. There is some stuff I did leave out though, because you should really read the origin story, because this book was really good and all over the place and my kind of book to review. Alright, here's this book of Killer Frost number 1 from Justice League of America, issue number 7.2. The origin of Killer Frost, or known as Dr. Caitlin Snow, who appears, and she's going to meet up with Dr. Nolan on a project that she is doing of Dr. Lincoln, which she's using from his notebooks and his schematics to finish it. And otherwise she gets betrayed, and then this happens with the wires. And when that happens, we get this where she needs to be fed, and I mean bodies fed, for warmth. Very awesome. And one by one she's killing them. She reminds me of Poison Ivy when she did the Kiss of Death thing, but they die in seconds, as well as Poison Ivy's would. And that's another person I should call. We get the encounterment of Killer Frost and Firestorm, where Firestorm does something so nice of changing her back to normal. Not for long, because she goes right back to being Killer Frost. And she should stay that way. Don't change for the good guys. That's what they make you do. And to be honest, she actually is with the crowd where the crime syndicate saying that Justice League is dead. Knowing that Firestorm is there, she just goes into a depression mode for Firestorm. Now, Killer Frost, don't turn into the other side and turn over a new leaf. Because the comic book here of you destroying people, that's where you need to stay. You don't need little good guys coming around saying, oh, this is bad, you should be good because I could do this and that for you. But that was just a small favor Firestorm did. Don't ever change. Stay evil. Stay the way you are. Because that is what Villains Month comics are about. Taking over and not listening to what anybody says. Not one damn word out of anybody. Do what you feel is the right one in an evil way. Reverse Flash number 1 from Flash issue number 23.2. This story was one of the excellent comic books that I've read, because there's one last one after this, and it talks about the origin story of Daniel West, of how he became Reverse Flash, and talked about a story of his childhood, where he was with a father who was an alcoholic. And I just love this page right here, where it shows all this of how he became Reverse Flash. And then there's this thing where it goes back in time, and here's Flash in this comic book. But that's just a little brief of that. So we go back to the suburb just outside Keystone, where it talks about his childhood memories of what he did to his father and how abusive he was. And then in the end, he meets his former self, where Reverse Flash attacks his father. Because Reverse Flash could travel through time, which I think is epically amazing. Maybe if you go back a little bit more, maybe you could erase the existence of heroes. I mean, that would be something that you should do, definitely. But I recommend this comic book one of the best comic books of this week. And now we go into that damn frickling light. Why do you do that? Seriously. One more comic book? Flickers. It just annoys me. Okay, last comic book for this week from Villains Month. Trigon #1 from Teen Titans, issue number 23.1. This was another excellent comic books where it talks about how Trigon became evil, and how he has 3 eyes, and these alien people are trying to stop him and his friends over here for a reason, and just burning them. I mean, that's just being something else. But when you play with fire, you get Trigon, because you can't kill him. He is one of the immortals. And I love the artwork, by the way, and just talks about what he does and how he makes women marry him, or to make him a child and stuff like that. I like the stages right here, where it goes from him being a child to a teenager to an adult and the full adult. And Trigon has these amazing forces right here. I mean, Trigon's got awesome backup, and there's also another person who tries to stop him, a spiked warrior, so to say. And I don't know how she lives through all his attacks, but yeah. The thing is that he goes away, and he has Raven's mother captured in this, who worships and fears him. I mean, she better, because she has no choice. And then she talks about how he would be, unable to be stopped, but they just want them to slay Trigon. Not going to happen. This dude right here, you're going to try to slay? Good luck, Teen Titans. Because you are definitely gonna need it. And for this shirt of the comic world order, this right here is a world order that you do not, I repeat, not want to mess with. And same goes with also Reverse Flash, as well as the other comic books that I have reviewed in this. So with that, sorry for the little sounds and flickering light interruption. Hopefully I'm gonna stop that and see who's behind this, because I don't like when people interrupt me. And I am gonna appear on the live with hopefully no interruptions or muting like some people's been doing, but I'm gonna have that taken care of, so you'll just have to wait and see. But until then, guys, this was the Darkness Hour of your host, Dark Rise, of the comic book review of episode number 202.1. And I did forget to say this last episode, to not forget to check out this website, which is comicrelated.com. From what I'm hearing, they are your #1 source for your comic book news, reviews, and more. So check it out. Just thought I'd throw it out there. And please, go out there and pick up week 2's of Villains Month, because week 3 is looking pretty good, and I can't wait to read them as well as review them for all you evil doers out there, because you are moving to the dark side a little bit, right? I should hope so for some people, because sooner or later you join my side and we could do the Comic World Order all together. But until then, I'm Dark Rise. Stay evil, and just keep thinking dark things, because darkness will take over forever, and I will be sure of that, because there's no way you could stop Dark Rise. And I will see you guys next time for another Evil Villains Month week. I will get this flickering light and I will fix it if it ain't the last thing I do with Comic World Order. Respect and kneel before Dark Rise.